good day. All right, cool. We should be better now. All right, ladies and gents, we mean to move fast, guys. We're moving slow. We're moving slow. We're moving slow. There's nothing stopping you from moving fast. Let's move fast, please. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Good? All right, let's go. All right, guys, so we got the question on the board. The question for today's session to get us started is, what is your most important focus? For those of you who are joining us on the live stream, same thing. Feel free to let us know inside of the comments. What is your most important focus? Okay. So, guys, let's take a moment or two. Let's get some answers down. We'll write some answers on the board. And then from there, we'll start to open up the session. You ready to go? I've got them eyes like, Dwayne's looking at me like, bro, I'm ready, bro. I don't know if they're not ready, but I'm ready. But okay, go. Let's go, champ. Present. I'm going to write what you said. Being present. Cool. Let's keep it moving. Who's next? So, all right. I'm going to write God's presence for that. God's presence. What was the last part? Through Christ. That was great. Thank you. Finding identity through Christ. Okay, let's keep going, guys. Oh, that's a good one. Interesting. But here's the thing, all right? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. All right, so Carol said a moment ago, she said God's presence. But then Carol said just now, being okay failing. Okay? Someone else tell me what's wrong with that? If anyone can think of it. Dwayne. Okay, so that's not exactly it, but good point. Mandy. Okay, cool. That's a good point, but that's not the point I was coming at. Let's go to Shayna, then Emmanuel. Shayna. Okay. That's a good point. So here's a question. Let's just unpack this a bit, right? And guys, there's chairs. Let's come round, right? Let's unpack this a bit. Firstly, so what a few of you guys have kind of alluded to is failure. Like what you've actually done. I'm gonna say it as I see it, right? You've taken the fact that people see failure as a negative and said that shouldn't be a focus, right? But let me ask you this, right? If someone's got cancer and they're focused on cancer, are they focused on cancer? Yes. Why? Because they're focused on cancer, right? So whether something is positive or negative, it's funny, I had a conversation with someone recently about the same thing. Whether something is positive or negative, it doesn't matter because a focus is a focus. So can someone be focused on something negative? They can, all right? So let me just share it with you, right? The challenge I have with what Carol said is Carol's giving me more than one answer. And by virtue of the fact she's giving me more than one answer, I know that both can't be true at the same time. The question is, what is your most important focus? So what does that mean implicitly? There can only be how many? Now, this is really good that we're unpacking this before we even start the session, really, because this is a big problem most people have and don't know they have. Most people think that they have 5 things that are most important to them. But they don't realize it is mathematically impossible to have more than one thing most important to you. Is this making sense? All right, let's take some more. Let's take 3, 4 more, and then we'll keep it moving. So I'm not going to write your second one down, Carol, unless someone else says. All right, Shayna, over to you. Discipline. Love that. Powerful. And the pen's gone. Disruption follows intention. That had to happen. All right, let's go. Discipline. Yes, please, champ. Okay, cool. Let's keep it going. Let's get 2, 3 more. Or let's go for 4 more. Mandy. One more time, a bit louder. Purpose. Okay, like that. Thank you, champ. All right, purpose. Okay, 3 more. Who else? Who's next? Obedience. Love that. Let's see if we can go back. Love that. Fresh pen. Okay. Obedience. All right, 2 more. All right, cool. Love that. Thank you. Right. going to say something, right? And hopefully this is going to help you. Hopefully this is going to bless you. Even if it doesn't, hopefully it will just encourage you, right? What I find interesting, and I want you to pay attention to what I'm about to say. What I find interesting is how new information changes how we do things. I find that fascinating. This is the reason why I became a teacher years ago, right? So I'm going to tell you a story. I wasn't going to tell you the story, but I'm going to tell you a story because I think it's going to be helpful, right? So when I'm 6 years old, some of you have heard parts of this story. Some of you might have even heard all of this, right? But when I was 6 years old, my parents separated, right? They decided to get divorced. And they said they did something which right now I think is like trauma inducing. Like I'm 40. I just recently turned 40. And as I turned 40, thinking about what my parents did, I think it's trauma inducing, right? But when I was a child, I didn't think it was trauma inducing. I just thought this is what they did, right? So my dad and my mum separate. They got 4 boys. I'm one of 4 boys, right? And they they ask us a question. They say, who do you want to live with? Now, as a grown man, and I look back and I'm like, bro, that can drive someone crazy, bro. It's bad enough for children. Like, I don't know if you grew up, like where I grew up in East London, there's this whole mentality, that there's this whole verbiage, this notion that we talk about how when parents separate, a lot of the time children feel like it's their fault, right? And sometimes that's subconscious. So imagine that. Imagine parents separate, the child feels like it's their fault, and then the parents say, who do you want to live with? Like, that's not going to make you feel like, no, this ain't my fault. This is going to make you feel like, yo, this is my fault. That's why they're now giving me the responsibility to decide where I even want to go, right? So, long story short, and I'm just saying this because I want to be fully transparent, and I want some people to wake up who might be half asleep. The Bible says, awaketh thou who sleepeth in your slumber. So let's just do this, right? So, when my mum and dad asked me that, me and all 3 of my brothers said, we want to go live with my dad. All of us. Listen, and look, if there's women in the house, mums in the house, just look, open your ears, please. Right? Because you might be getting a little revelation now that you might not have thought of, right? But I'm just telling you the truth. I didn't say I want to live with my mum who carried me for 9, 10 months. I didn't say that. Okay? I didn't say I want to live with my mum who sat me on her lap to feed me milk. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said I want to live with my dad. My older brother said I want to live with my dad. My 2 younger brothers said I want to live with my dad. We all said it was a wrap, unanimous decision. We're going with dad. Then, maybe because of the principles and precepts and practices that my dad had raised us with, me and my older brother looked at each other and was like, well, if we all go to live with my dad, then no one's going to be with my mum. And then we said, okay, we will go and live with my mum. Because as the oldest boys, like, we have to take it on the chin. So we're not going where we want, right? Now, I want you to understand some things, right? Because I'm recognizing things, which is why I'm sharing these things with you, right? One of the things I want you to understand is, at that point in my life, a massive amount of responsibility was given to me. Does that make sense? Like, let's say I was 6. I probably wasn't 6 at that time because they separated that when I was 6. This was probably a few years later. I was probably about 8, 9, maybe 9, 10 at this time. The point I'm making is, as a 9-year-old, as a 10-year-old, when you make 2 critical decisions, one, where you're going to live. You know, most people don't make that decision until they're 16 plus, 18 plus, 21 plus, 30 plus. Does this make sense? I made that decision as a 10-year-old. Where I'm going to live. Okay? So I was talking to Carol earlier. Carol was like, oh, how's your birthday celebration? Like, did you enjoy it? I was like, yeah, I enjoyed it. I was like, but I feel like I've been 40 for a long time already. And this is part of the reason why, because when I was 10, I was making decisions that 30-year-olds usually make. Okay? So I decided, okay, we're going to go live with my mum. Now, here's the second part to that, right? Which I want you to understand. I couldn't go and live where I wanted to live. Okay? Now, some people might see that as disappointment. Other people might see that as reality. Okay, because some of you read that scripture, in my father's house there are many mansions, and you're still wondering why you're living in a 1-bedroom flat. Is what I'm saying making sense? Because you can't live where you just want to live. Does this make sense? So what happens when you end up in a 1-bedroom flat when you read the scripture that says in my father's house there's many mansions? 2 things could happen. 1, you can just say, oh, that's what it is. Or 2, you can figure it out. Does that make sense? And I'm going to be honest with you, I just want to be transparent today because we've got a lot to go through in a little bit of time. It's the first session of a whole new series. And I'm just going to tell you this, most people don't figure it out. Most people don't try to figure it out. Most people aren't interested in figuring it out because most people don't know that you can figure it out. Does this make sense? Is this helping someone? All right, cool. So we asked the question, for those of you who are joining us on the live stream, let us know in the comments as well. We asked the question, what is your most important focus? We got some interesting answers. The answers we got were consistency, discipline, purpose, obedience, right standing with Christ, being present, God's presence, and also finding identity through Christ. All right. So again, those of you who are joining us on the live, feel free to throw in the live stream comments what your answer to that question is. What is your most important focus? And those of you who are watching this on a replay, you can do the same. Just throw it in the comments below. Now, here's something that's super interesting. At a young age, some people may be forced to have to deal with high levels of responsibility. The reality is this: everybody is going to be forced at some stage in their life to deal with a high level of responsibility. The real question you need to ask yourself is, are you prepared? That's the real question. You see, some people try to ignore the inevitable. Okay, some people try to ignore the inevitable. I'll give you an example, right? Let's say someone started using credit cards, right? Got their brand new first credit card, they just go out there and start paying for stuff, right? Oh, yo, man, I got a 3K limit, right? And they're just using that 3K, using that 3K. Sorry, guys. And then the reason I'm laughing is because 3K is like most people's monthly income. And they're just spending it, spending it, spending it. Then at the end of the month, they get their little 2K8, right? After tax, that ain't great because it ain't even 2K8. And then they're like, yo, how am I going to pay this credit card back? And they can't pay the credit card back. Now, the credit card company, here's the thing. This is so beautiful. The credit card company doesn't care if you can't pay it back. Should I be really honest with you? The credit card company's happy if you can't pay it back. Why? That's how they make money. And their credit card company is their business. Oh, someone needs help. All right, let me break this down, right? So I did this training years ago. This was so many years ago. I can't remember how many years ago it was, right? I did this training years ago, and the heart of the training, there was 3 key principles I taught. I'm going to teach you the first 2 very quickly. The first one is this: success leaves clues. Okay? Success leaves clues. What does that mean? That means if you look at successful things, there's always a pattern. Okay? There's always a... All right, cool. If you look at successful things, there's always a pattern. There's always a... All right, good, right? So, firstly, success leaves clues. If you look at successful things, there's always a pattern. Now, let's do this. Let's do this live. I used to do it live, so let's do this live. Okay? Who is the richest person that comes to your mind financially right now? Emmanuel. Elon Musk, okay? Dwayne. Elon Musk. Alex. Donald Trump. Damani. Elon Musk, right? So we got Elon Musk 3 times and we got Donald Trump once, okay? I can guarantee you that I can tell you one thing that's the same about both of them. Let's even add more names. Tyrone, who's the richest person that comes to your mind? Bill Gates. So we got 3 people now, right? I used to study statistics, and let me tell you, the probability of me, some UK brother, guessing something that is in common with 3 different people who live miles away from me is very, very low. But I can guarantee you I can do that, right? So we said Bill Gates. Okay, let's add more names. Let's make the statistical probability even more impossible. Kashina, who comes to your mind? All right, that's cool. Same person. Shakid, Jeff Bezos. Okay, Jeff Bezos. Now we got 4. Good. We're growing. Give me who else? Jay-Z. Okay, 5. Who else? Give me two more. Okay, Jesus ain't gonna be in this list. He ain't gonna be in this. Not yet. Go for it. Robert. I don't know who that is. Robert Kiyosaki. All right, cool. That's all good. We'll get his name right. Robert Kiyosaki, 6. Give me one more person. All right, I love that. Cristiano Ronaldo. You know why I love that? Because all of these people we said are basically businessmen. So you actually made it easy for me. But then when you said Cristiano Ronaldo, you kind of didn't make it easy anymore. But I still guarantee you statistically, I'm going to tell you one thing that's in common with all of them. You ready? Every single one of those people have a business. Success leaves clues. Now you show me someone who has a job who's rich. No, that's called impossible. It's called impossible. Now, you might be thinking, oh, Samuel, why are you always on me with this job thing? I got a job. Listen. I'm not that guy. Please understand, I'm not that guy. I don't do this for those of you who work a job to feel like, oh, I shouldn't work a job. That's not why I do this. I do this because success leaves clues. Like with any successful process, there is a pattern. And if I lie to you about the pattern, I'm lying to you. And I can't be here to lie to you. So I just have to tell you the truth. Is that okay? You cannot mathematically find someone who is rich, financially rich, with a job. It's impossible. Okay? Now, Some of you are going to be like, oh, but, I'll do this. In 1995, because you guys won't even know this stuff. I'm helping you create an argument against my argument, okay? Because that's what you should do. That's what you should do. You need to counterbalance arguments, right? In 1995, the head of Disneyland, the CEO of Disneyland in 1995 was paid over $1 million as his salary. So he had a job and he was paid over $1 million. I think it was actually around $25 million. I think that's how much it was, right? Now, why am I saying that? Because some of you might now say, but Samuel, if this guy in 1995 was paid $25 million, obviously we assume now in 2025, people are going to be paid more than that for similar jobs, then surely those people are rich from a job. We in the same page, yeah? All right, so here's the question, right? When I was young, I used to work in Clark's, right? I literally used to be like on the floor with people's feet, yeah? Right? Like, that's why I'm a servant, because that's how I started, right? Touching people's feet, right? So let me share this with you. I want you to see this. I realized something. I listened to a documentary which helped me realize it, but I'm going to tell you how I realized it. I realized something. I realized if you, let's take Dwayne. Dwayne, if you start work at 8 a.m., okay, and you finish work at 8 p.m., okay, and the Clark's shop, which sells shoes, and Clark's ain't even that expensive. Let's say like the most expensive pair of Clark's you're going to get, let's say they're even an exclusive pair, is going to be less than £500, okay? Now, let's say Dwayne makes millions in a year. He's making 25 million, okay? But what time do you start work, bro? What time do you finish work? Clark's opens at 9 and Clark's closes at 5. Can he buy himself a pair of shoes? Not from Clark's. Online. You're, like, some of you haven't clocked it yet. That's why being rich with a job is not being rich. Because no matter how much you earn, you don't have the time to exercise what you've earned. Wealth has got nothing to do with money as much as it has to do with time. And this is what people don't get. The reason you should want to do what the Bible says about your wealth and about your situations and about opportunities in front of you is because of the time it gives you, not because of the money it gives you. Does this make sense? Two people, one person's got a business and he's making 40,000 from his business. He has flexibility of time. I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say this. Imagine, I gave this example kind of earlier. Imagine someone who's just contracted cancer, but they work a job. That means someone else has to decide whether they're going to get paid when they go to the doctor to go see the cardiologist, when they go see the doctor for any appointment. Someone else has to make that decision on their behalf. Someone can have a business, make less money than that person who has a job, but they don't have to have someone else decide whether or not they can go see a doctor. Because some people say, I'm not going to go to see the doctor on this day because I don't have annual leave. I don't have enough annual leave anymore. Or I can't get the day off. Or it's going to be too complicated to get a letter of absence from work. I don't, like, guys, I haven't worked a job since 2017, so I could be away from reality. But is what I'm saying making sense? Is this true? Is this how it works, really? Is it still like this or it's different? I don't know. Okay. Kind of. The money's like, it might be for some people. All right, cool. All right? I'm just trying to figure it out. Because obviously some people work for American companies, isn't it? A bit more flexible, relaxed, isn't it? Relax, you work from home and all that, yeah? But the point I'm making is you have to understand it's your time. It's your time that's important. It's your time that's important. It's your time that's important. Now, let me tell you why your time is so important. Because time is the primary currency that God gave you before you don't have any more time. I'm going to say it again. Time is the primary currency that God gave you before you don't have any more time. What does that mean, Samuel? That means when your time is up, your time is up. Have you ever met someone whose time was up, but then they got some more time? There's someone in the Bible. Yeah, Reginald put his hand up. There's someone in the Bible. There's a king in the Bible who literally prayed, I don't want my time to be up. And God said, okay, this is what I'm going to tell you to do. Go and take a bow and arrow, and I want you to basically fire as many arrows as you want more time. And he fires 15 arrows. And God even said, bro, what is wrong with you? Why did you only ask for 15 more years? Guys, I don't know if you understand what that story is teaching us. That story teaches us that we have no conceptual understanding of how important time is. We just think time is like a nice thing, like, yo, it's the time, innit? I'm not even into my notes right now. This is how deep this is, like, time. All right, let's jump into this, all right? I'm going to do something which I've shared here before, but just for those of you who are new, and then we'll get into the meat of today. All right. Is anyone getting any value so far? All right, cool. Let's go. All right. So first thing is this: you can only do 3 things with money. How many things can you do with money? 3. Okay. This is not a financial conference. Okay. I just thought to myself, we're talking a lot about money today. All right. I don't know. Someone might need some money help, right? So let's do this. You can only do 3 things with money. Okay. Does anyone who's never heard me teach this before want to guess what those 3 things are? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Okay. Okay, that's one. I'll write it down, but it's not one. I'll write it down, but it's not one. That's it? All right, cool. All right, so, Mandy. Anyone know the last one? All right, cool. Okay, there are only 3 things you can do with money. The only 3 things you can do with money are invest money, waste money, or spend money. They're the only 3 things you can do with money. And often when I teach this, I say, someone's going to argue with me and say, no, but Samuel, you can save money. And then I explain to them, should I explain it, guys? All right, okay, cool. Right? If you give money to a bank is going to give you how much interest right now? Right? Let's say 3%. Okay? Now, if you go on Google right now and ask, how much is inflation in 2025? Okay? For those of you who don't know what inflation is the speed at which our money gets weaker. Okay? For those of you taking notes, inflation is the speed at which our money gets weaker. Okay? Oh, I'm going to do this. Does someone want some help? Do you know that there's such thing as time inflation? You've never heard that before. I know you've never heard that before because I just made it up. Yeah? But you know why I can just make it up? Because it's the truth. There is a speed at which your time gets weaker. Okay? You don't understand me. Let me break it down for you. Do you know when you're 10 years old, when you speak to a 10-year-old and you say to a 10-year-old, oh, you did this when you were 6. Do they think that was a long time ago or do they think that was a little time ago? They think it was a long time. The parents just say, yeah, mature. They think everything was a long time ago. Okay? Okay. Now, when you're 60, if you speak to a 60-year-old and you ask a 60-year-old about when they were 40, okay, do they think that was a long time ago or a little time ago? Why is that different? Think about that. How can I talk to a 60-year-old about when they were 40 and they were like, it was just the other day? But when you talk to a 10-year-old about when they were 6, 10 to 6 is 4 years. 60 to 40 is 20 years. That is 5 times more time. So how does the 60-year-old feel like that was a minute ago, but the 10-year-old feels like that was ages ago? I'm going to tell you why. Because of time inflation. That's the speed at which your time is getting weaker. The older you get, the more time you've had, the more you realize how quickly it goes. The younger you are, the less time you've had. So for you, this thing is going real slow. Probably every one of us here, when we were a child, was just we couldn't wait to be an adult. And then when you're an adult, guess what? I'll just stop there. I'll stop there. I'll let you figure that one out. I want you to think about this. Why does that happen? Because of time inflation. There is a speed at which your time is getting weaker. There's a speed at which your time is getting weaker, just like there's a speed at which your money is getting weaker. Right? Anyone check on the internet, inflation, what it is this year? No? All right? Okay, cool. What we got doing? Inflation is 0.3. It probably means free. Go. It can't be 0.3. That must be a mistake. But it's okay. It's okay. Usually, we're told by media that inflation is 3%. It's not actually 3%. If you know how to calculate inflation, you realize it's not 3%. But we're told it's 3%. So 3.5, 3.4. Okay, so we got some numbers here, right? All right, so let's use the middle one, right? 3.4, 3.5, 3.6. Let's use 3.5. Okay, so inflation is 3.5%. Inflation is the speed at which your money is getting weaker. Okay, the bank are giving you bank interest of 3%. Yeah. All right, so let's do some quick maths, right? What does inflation mean? Inflation means the speed at which my money gets weaker. So what that means is if I can buy a loaf of bread today for £1, In 12 months from now, that same loaf of bread will cost me £1 3 pence, or three fifth of a pence, right? So let's just call it £1 4p, okay? Because it's a 5, so you should round up, okay? So the loaf of bread was £1 today. Loaf of bread was £1 today, but in 12 months, that same loaf of bread will be £1 4p. Everyone happy with that? That's everyone understands the basics of inflation. Yeah? That's why when you go to the supermarket, things are more expensive. Because inflation is what does that. Like, people don't realize they don't need to take money out of your pocket. They just increase the price of everything you're going to use the money from your pocket. Does that make sense? Okay, so now watch this. You put the same, let's say you put £1 in a bank. The bank is giving you an interest of 3%. And obviously that's 3% per year, right? So at the end of a year, your £1 will give you £1 3p. Okay, so here's a question. Everyone followed that maths, right? The bank's giving 3% interest. Over a year, your £1 becomes £1 3p. Inflation is working at 3.5%. We round it up, it's 4%. So at the end of the year, the same bread now costs £1 4p. So here's a question. Did you just save money by putting it in the bank? You lost money. So now when you understand, hold on a minute, I was scammed. I was scammed. What does scam stand for? Steal, confused about money. I was scammed in secondary school when they told me you should save money. I was scammed, unfortunately, I've got to tell you the truth, by my parents when they told me you should be a good boy and you should save money, because they didn't understand there is no such mathematical thing as saving money. Trust me, Zuri, I'm with you too. Cheers. There's no such mathematical thing as saving money. But guess what? People are trying to save. And this is why I always say you cannot use school tactics to achieve non-school outcomes. School doesn't teach you about freedom. So why do you think their tactics, save money, is going to help you achieve freedom? It's impossible. They never told you they were going to give you that. So why do you think their tactics are going to help you with that? Does this make sense? So you can't save money. Okay? Now, let me tell you something. Because some people think, oh, but Samuel, we can give money. All right? I've never had anyone say that before. So I'm really glad we had that one today. Some people think, no, but Samuel, listen, you're still wrong, bro. Because even though you can't save, you got me on that one, but you can give. No, you can't give. Why can't you give? Okay, here's a question, right? No one is exempt. No one is exempt. You can say any person you want. You can say anything, any person you want. Who's the biggest giver that you know? Do you say God? All right, cool. Okay, here's a quick question. Would anyone disagree, or does anyone know a giver bigger than God? All right, so let's start with God. We believe he's the biggest giver, right? So watch this. What does God tell us about giving? He tells us it's better to give than to receive. He says, if you give, a pattern is that something always has to come back to you. He actually says, if you're reading the scripture, what comes back to you has to be greater than what you gave. So can you actually give? No, because giving is literally just the same as investing. There's no such thing as giving. There's no such thing as saving. There are only 3 things you can do with your money. You can invest that money, and by giving that money, you are investing that money. That's why in the book of Proverbs, God says something so powerful in the book of Proverbs. He says, he who lendeth unto the poor, lendeth unto me. Why does he use the word lend and not give? Because it's coming back to you. It has to come back to you. It has to. There's a pattern. Some of us don't understand patterns. So you know what? Our lives are destitute because we haven't seen the pattern. We haven't seen the pattern. He says, if you got faith the size of a mustard seed, you can make mountains move. That's a pattern. He's telling you something. He's telling you this currency, faith, has a higher denominational value than this currency, mountains. Some people like looking at the mountains. Like I said earlier, someone's got cancer. They're looking at the mountain of cancer instead of thinking, I only need a mustard seed of faith. Does this make sense? All right. So there's only 3 things you can do with money. You can invest money, you can waste money, or you can spend money. They're the only 3 things you can do. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Do you want to know how I learned there's only 3 things you can do with money? I kept people kept saying, time is. People just kept saying it. Time is. And I kept saying to myself, I know time is not money. Time and money are different. Time and money are different. But it's when I started to study the differences between time and money, I found one thing that was the same between time and money. The one thing I found which was the same between time and money is the three things you can do with them. The three things you can do with time are the same three things you can do with money. You can invest your time, you can waste your time, or you can spend your time. You cannot save time. And it's when you start to study how you can use money or how you can use time that you start realizing, wow, I've been wasting my time. Wow. You see, look, I'm going to help someone massively right now. If you are going to listen to what I'm about to say, please pay attention. If you need to take notes, take a note of this. Please understand this. This is a principle that can change your life. The only reason you've been wasting your time is because you thought you could save time. The only reason you've been wasting your time is because you thought you could give time. You know, what I'm saying in principle form is the reason we do the wrong thing is because we don't realize the wrong thing is the wrong thing. If you knew it was the wrong thing, you would stop doing it, or you'd at least try to stop doing it. I'd like to think, I hope. I used to smoke cannabis. And you know what? I thought a whole bunch of things when I was smoking. But there was a day when I realized I'm addicted. Let me just share this, right? Every other thought I had, I don't like doing this. This ain't nice. This makes me stink. All the other ideas I had never got me to stop. Let me tell you the one idea that I had that got me to stop when I realized I'm addicted. Why? John chapter 8 verse 32 tells us something profound. It says, you will know the truth and the truth will make you free. The truth wasn't this thing makes me stink. The truth, all of that stuff wasn't the truth. The essence at heart of all of the stuff was I am addicted. That was the truth. And when I recognize the truth, things could change. That's why some of us have problems, because we're looking at things and we don't know the truth about that thing. We don't know what's the actual truth here. What's the real truth? Because when you know the truth, guess what? You become free. I'm going to say this. John 8:32 does not say, you will know the truth and you will use the truth to become free. It doesn't say that. That's what some people think. That's why some people are afraid of learning the truth, because they think when I learn the truth, then I've got to do the work. It says you will know the truth and the truth will make you free. You don't have to do the work. The truth does the work. The work we've got to do is to get the truth. Does this make sense? All right, let's jump in. We got so much to unpack, right? So, all right, let's go there. We're going to the book of Luke. Okay. I was just deciding whether we was going to go straight in or whether we was going to take our time and go around. Let me ask, what would you guys prefer? Straight in or take our time and go around? Okay, we got some straight ins here. All right, this is good. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 1. Sorry, I thought you guys would want a detour. Let's go all the way in then. Proverbs chapter 1, let's go. Today we start a brand new series. The series we start today is titled, for those of you who like titles, Right Before Your Eyes. Okay? Right before your eyes. Now, I'm going to share some stuff with you. And this stuff's going to help you, hopefully. Okay? You may not know this. It's okay. Mummy's not going. You may not know this, but there are some things that are right before your eyes. There are some things. You see, I was really like in about 7 different lanes deciding how I was going to share this with you guys, because there's so many ways I could share this, but I'm going to paraphrase rather than do what I was going to do, right? And this will help. So in the book of Genesis, anyone ever read the whole book of Genesis? Yeah, a couple of us. Cool. Right? And guys, that's an easy question because it's the first book, right? Yeah. So I'm not trying to trick you. I'm trying to help you, right? To feel a bit confident. Yeah, I've read one of the 66. All right, cool, right? So in the book of Genesis, there's this story. Now, here's the funniest thing. Even though you've read the book of Genesis, you probably don't remember the story. I'm just going to be honest with you, right? And I'm that kind of person. I know the things that are memorable and things that aren't memorable. Now, the people here who will remember the story are people who've heard someone teach on the story. But you ain't going to remember the story because it's not a story that really sticks out, okay? Is everyone happy with that? So homework, after we talk about this story today, go read the story, right? So there's a story of this guy. Now, the first part you're going to know, right? But we're going to get into it, and then you're going to be like, oh, it's true. I didn't really remember that, right? You don't have to tell us. It's okay. So the Bible talks about this guy called Abraham in Genesis, right? And Abraham's got a wife. Cool? And him and his wife are believing for a baby. believing for a baby, like years are going past and they're just not having any babies, right? So the wife, her name's Sarah, right? And her name gets changed. His name gets changed as well, right? Because things change. But the wife says to the husband, listen, bro, this thing ain't happening. So let me move someone in the bedroom and you have a baby with her. Her name was Hagar. Okay? Right. So Hagar gets pregnant and they end up having a baby, right? And his name is Ishmael. You got it, right? Good, 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 right? So Ishmael's born. Now, I want to say a few things. I don't know why, but I just think this needs to be said. First thing, God does not recognize Ishmael as Abraham's son. Is that okay? For the men? Right? Just, right? So that's first thing. It's something that just always stands out to me. Because I always think like, that's crazy. Like God says, take your son, your only son, to be sacrificed. And he's talking about Isaac. He doesn't recognize Ishmael as his son. Right? I just want you to understand this. Because there's certain men, like Robbie showed me this reel the other day of some guy who is a CEO of a company who got caught out at a concert with another woman who's not his wife. And both of them, you know the kiss cam? The kiss cam went on them. And they both just did exactly what anyone would do who's cheating. They both just turned around like, oh no, we can't be on cam. And then they went viral. Why wouldn't you go viral? Because you just did the opposite of what everyone does when they're on the camera. Anyway. So yeah, so the point I'm making, I bring that up to say, if stuff like that still happens today, which we know it happens, someone like me needs to talk about it, right? I need to be clear that, bro, the offspring of that does not produce something God recognizes. Everyone with me? All right, cool. Let's keep it moving. So let's get into the story that I think the part you don't remember. So she has a child. His name's Ishmael. And a few years later, she's bullying Sarah. She's literally like, what's actually happening, what the Bible actually says is Ishmael is mocking Isaac. Okay? So as Ishmael's mocking Isaac, Sarah gets upset. And she's like, yo, why is this woman that I let in the house? Like, you think about it, like, I let you in. And you're rolling like this. You ain't even recognizing, like, I'm your goat. Do you get what I'm saying? So now what she does is this. She says, look, Abraham, you got to get this woman out of here. You got to get this woman and her boy out of here. We don't want them around here anymore. So Abraham prays about it. And he says to God, God, please bless this boy. Bless this boy. But we've got to get him out of here. So God says, send them away. So he sends them away, right? So you got Hagar and you've got her son Ishmael wandering in a desert. Okay? They're wandering in a desert. Deserts are hot, right? And what happens is their gallons of water end up empty. So how do you think they feel right now? Thirsty. You got it, Elijah. They're thirsty. They're in the desert thirsty. Okay? Now, you got to read it for yourself. That's why I said go read the story, right? Because you might not remember some of the stuff I'm about to say. So they're in the desert thirsty, and one thing happens first. The woman starts going mad. She literally starts going mad. She starts, like we would say, she's moving mad. She starts going mad. Right now, you might be thinking, Samuel, how are you going to say she's going mad? The Bible didn't say she was going mad. Let me tell you what the Bible said. The Bible says she went and put her son under a bush, and she went afar off. For a woman, that's moving mad. Am I right? Okay, so she's moving mad. If you study the Hebrew, you'll really see she's moving mad, and you'll see why she's moving mad, right? Because she was a descendant of people that operated a certain way. So she was operating like them. But that's a theology lesson that you guys ain't got time for right now. So let's go deeper. So it says, whilst she walks off, she starts talking to God. No, she starts speaking about how she's going to die. She starts saying she's going to die, she's going to die, she's going to die. The son's praying. The little boy's praying. The Bible says the boy was praying. So an angel shows up. And the angel says to her, Hagar, what aileth thee? Hagar, what's your problem? Hagar, what's wrong with you? And she says, she's about to die. She's got no water. She's just out here thirsty. The Bible says something powerful. The Bible says that God opened her eyes. opened her eyes. Someone told me, what did she see? She saw Elijah's actually got the most accurate answer. She didn't see a well. She saw literally an oasis, like a river. Okay, I want to share something. An oasis or a river symbolizes an abundance of what she thought she didn't have. Now, I want to ask a few questions because I want this message to go deep into your heart and literally pierce it, right? Let me ask this question. Did the angel teleport her to somewhere else? Did the angel transfer her money that she didn't have before? No. What did the Bible say that God did for her? Let me ask this question. Take a moment and imagine what might be right before your eyes. Just take a moment. Take a moment and think about your life and certain things in your life that you are saying, God, I'm going to die without this thing. God, I ain't even got this thing. God, I don't even know how I'm going to get this thing. And God can just open your eyes. Just take a moment and think about it. Take a moment and think about it. You see, I got this thing I say to Robbie all the time, right? I'm like, but you're dealing with God. Like I don't think listen, my background is maths. My first degree is computing and statistics. The first master's I studied was a master's in statistics. I'm into probabilities. I'm into prediction. I'm into mathematically working out like, yo, how likely is it that this is going to happen? But when you're dealing with God, like the God who in the book of Proverbs says, the heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord. And if it just said that, that would be cool. But it says, and he turneth it whithersoever he desires. You know what happens when God turns someone's heart to do something for you? Because some of us are just thinking about the oasis right now. We're like, yeah, but you know, the oasis had to be there. The oasis was there. She just couldn't see it. And if you don't believe that, jump into the book of Proverbs and then see that God can turn someone's heart and realize, bro, the person don't even need to be there to holler and be like, hey, you know what? God was talking to me this morning. I just got to get you this. I just got to take you here. I just got to take you there. I just got to do this with you. I just got to open this door for you. I just got to give you this favor. Listen, I'm going to say something. I think we all need to hear this. I shared this with Carol earlier. The Bible says, if you're faithful with little, I'll make you rule over much. Let me tell you why some of us have problems. Because we don't appreciate the favor God has given us already. We don't get access to the favor he's waiting to give us. That's a pattern. If you are faithful with a little, I will make you ruler over much. But if you can't tap into little favor, baby favor, how is he going to be able to unlock major favor? Is this helping someone? All right, let's go deeper. We're in Proverbs chapter 1. We're going to read from verse 20. What verse? All right. For those of you who want a title, the title for this month, next month, and the month after, 3 months it should take, is Right Before Your Eyes. Today's part 1. And the reason I believe it's going to take 3 months to teach this stuff to you is because I'm specifically going to be focused on 3 calls that we all receive. Okay? So this month we're talking about call number, and then next month we'll be talking about call number, and then the month after we'll be talking about call number. You guys have got it. Such a smart audience. All right? All right. I'm being told audio is very low. Okay? Guys, let me know, is the audio still low? If it is, let me know, and we'll turn it up. If the audio is good, let me know it's good. All right. So there are 3 calls we all receive. But before I can share with you those calls, I have to share with you something else. This is something I've taught before, but I'm going to teach it in a simpler way. Because when I was coming here today, I was like, look, just teach this. But then I was like, if I teach this and you don't get it because you don't get it, then we're going to have a problem. So I'm going to make sure you get it. Is that okay? All right. So in the book of Proverbs, Brother Tyrone, can I get a board, brother, please, right? In the book of Proverbs, I've taught you guys that there are a certain amount of characters that are shown again and again. How many characters are there? All right, there are 4 core characters in the book of Proverbs. Now, the thing that's interesting is those same 4 characters, if you study the whole Bible, you will find show up again and again. Thank you, champ. Again and again and again and again and again, right? So here's a question. How many characters are there in the book of Proverbs? All right, cool. Now, I usually describe them using a simple shape like this, okay? And I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. It's going to help, right? So those four core characters, I give them I give them my own name, okay? And the reason I give them my own name, it allows me and helps me to be able to remember who they are, okay? But it also reminds me and helps me to remember how they operate. Does that make sense? Okay. So the first core character, which is, yeah, we should start there, which is the character all of you guys should want to emulate. Success leaves patterns, right? There's clues, right? So the patterns of this character in my opinion, are the patterns that are the most important. Does this make sense? So that is what we call the pioneer. Okay, the pioneer. That's a P. Okay, pioneer. The pioneer occupies the top of this shape. Why? Because the pioneer is who you want to be. The pioneer is going to point you towards where you want to go, right? Does that make sense? Okay. But there's three other characters as well. Who are these other characters? There is the prisoner. I should ask you guys, because then that way I know you guys are learning. Who's the other two guys? The pirate. Yep. Carol and Dwayne have got it. We've got the pirate and we've got the passenger. Okay. So there are 4 P's. You've got a passenger, you've got a prisoner, you've got a pirate, and then you've got a pioneer. Okay? And I submit to you, and I have been doing for years, that you guys should desire to want to be a pioneer. Okay? A pioneer. A pioneer, another word for a pioneer is a leader. Okay? Now, some of you are thinking, Samuel, I've been reading the Bible for years. I've never heard that word pioneer ever in the Bible. Right? Is anyone ever thinking that here? Is anyone like, Samuel, where's the word pioneer in the Bible? Or pirate? I've never seen the word pirate in the Bible. Anyone thinking that? No? Oh, you're thinking that? Okay, cool. Someone's thinking that, right? So I'm going to share with you what they're called in the Bible so you can not miss them when you read through the book of Proverbs. Is that okay? All right. The pioneer is what the Bible calls in the book of Proverbs as the wise. Does that make sense? Okay. The prisoner is what the Bible calls the scorner. Okay? The passenger is what the Bible calls the simple. Okay? And the pirate is who the Bible calls the fool. Okay? Was you saying them with me? Who was saying them with me? I could hear someone's voice. Cool. Oh, cool. Perfect. 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 You guys have got the curriculum here. All right, good, good. I like this. Right? So are we paying attention? If you study the book of Proverbs, you will see these 4 characters show up again and again and again and again and again. The wise, the simple, the scorner, the fool. The wise, the simple, the scorner, the fool. The wise, the simple, the scorner, the fool. Right? Now, because I teach people, sometimes I have to take things and give them different names so that they're more memorable. Does that make sense? Right? So that's why I've got the PPPPP. All right? Now, let's go to work on this. Actually, let's just do it biblically. That's easiest, right? So Proverbs chapter 1. Did I tell you where we're reading? I asked you to say it. So verse 20. All right. So we're going to start at 20. We're going to end at 33. For those of you who want to know, right? All right. I should ask this, but is there anyone who wants to read? Who said yeah? Cool, Carol. All right, Carol. We're doing what? 13. So Carol, you do 3. I'll do 3. Anyone else want to do something? Emmanuel, Tyrone, and remind me. Kyla. I was going to call you your sister's name. All right, Kyla, not Clarissa. Let's go. All right, so let Kyla go first. Kyla will go first, then me. Yeah, no, so 20 to 23, and then I'll read 24 to 26, and then we'll have Carol, Tyrone, Emmanuel. Yeah, and that should roughly get us there. If it doesn't, I'll just read the rest. All right, so Proverbs chapter 1, verse 20. Let's go. This is crazy. Sorry, I'm going to read the rest. So that was powerful. This is crazy. Like, guys, sorry, I can't read the Bible without getting jacked up. Sorry, because it's like it just does something instantly. Like, did anyone else get a little buzz just reading it? Oh, if you listen, tell the truth. If you didn't, just say no, man. It's okay, man. It's okay. But this stuff does something to my brain. I don't know if you read what we just read. It said wisdom is crying. So look, I told you I'm going to speak to you about 3 calls, right? Okay, let me ask a simple question. Who makes the first call? Okay, so we're at least on the same page. Wisdom's calling. Wisdom is calling. Guys, wisdom is calling. Okay, here's a great question. Who's wisdom calling? Not everyone, but you said the passenger. So the passenger would mean they're calling the simple. Let's read, Kyla, read 22 again. Stop. So Dwayne's right. Yeah? Read the next line. Stop. And the what? Who else is she calling? Keep going. Who else is she calling? You lot ain't caught it. First chapter of the book of Proverbs. First call we're going to discuss this month. The call comes from wisdom, and the call is to scorners, to fools, and to the simple. It's to people that are living life like passengers. It's to people that are living life like pirates, and it's to people living life like they're in prison. Is this helpful to anyone? All right, let's keep it moving. I'm gonna read 23 to 26. All right, 23, 24, 25. Let's go. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Because I have called and you refused, I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. 25. But you have set at naught all my counsel and would none of my reproof. Carol, over to you. 26, 27, 28. Carol, sorry, stop. Sorry, it's happening again. Guys, how can wisdom laugh when you're going through drama? Let me just ask this. Let me ask this. Does this mean wisdom can see the drama you're going through? So does that mean that wisdom is right before your eyes? Oh, someone didn't see that. Wisdom's telling you, listen, yo, fix up. Dizzy Rascal, look sharp, right? Wisdom's telling you, fix up, change your ways. But listen to what wisdom goes on to say. It was so beautiful as Carol was reading. I don't know if you saw this. Wisdom saying, listen, if you don't, it doesn't even say if you don't. It said because you ain't changing, because you ain't fixing up. Listen to what's going to happen. You're going to have drama. Let me ask you this. If you're a prisoner and you keep being a prisoner, aren't you just going to have drama? Like, don't we, like, I'm just asking you. So, like, I went to prison. I celebrated my 18th birthday in prison. This is good. This is good. Sorry, I've got an example. When I was in prison, I got rushed. I then had a visit with my mum and dad. I said to my dad, I'm going to kill him. Speaking of the person who was in charge of the gang that rushed me. I said, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him. And my dad said something that changed my life. He said, kill him then. And you'll stay here for the rest of your life. I had like 3 months before I was going to be released. And I'm telling my dad, I'm going to kill someone. Someone who didn't even hurt me. Just because reputation, pride, name, brand. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him. I've never spoken to my dad like that in my life. My dad, my mum, and my brother are sitting in front of me. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill this guy. My dad said, yeah, kill him. And then you stay here for the rest of your life. So let me ask you this question. If you're a prisoner, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him. And you go do what the prisoner's most likely going to do, surely we know you're going to end up with drama going forward, right? That just logically makes sense, right? Okay, let's ask another question. If you're a passenger, you're just going along for the ride. You don't even know where the ride is taking you. Surely you're going to have some drama in the future, right? Because you're going to end up somewhere you didn't know you was going to go, and you're going to be saying, what am I doing here? If you're a pirate, what's a pirate do? They go and create problems for other people. Here's a question. If you can only invest, spend, or waste money, the pirate is definitely not investing in their future. So they're probably wasting their future. So surely they're going to end up with problems and drama in their future. Does this make sense? So here's the key. All three of the people wisdom are calling are going to end up with drama. Not because of wisdom, just because of the path they're on. It's not wisdom's fault. Let me even say this to you so it can help someone who really needs this. Wisdom doesn't need to help you. Wisdom doesn't need to help you. Wisdom doesn't need to go out of their way and call your phone. Wisdom doesn't need to tell you change. Wisdom doesn't need to tell you fix up and look sharp. Wisdom doesn't need you. But wisdom calls you anyway. And wisdom says, listen, if you're on one of these three paths, there is going to be drama ahead. And guess what wisdom goes on to say? Wisdom says, because you're not listening to me, when you face the drama, I'm going to laugh. How can wisdom laugh? Because wisdom is still there. That's what people ain't realize. Wisdom's watching you. Wisdom's right in front of you. Wisdom is always there. Wisdom never goes anywhere. Some of us need that. Some of us need to recognize that because some of us have been believing we're going through certain things and there's no goodness there. How do I know wisdom's always there? Because God didn't say that the angel teleported Hagar to someone else. God said he opened her eyes. The thing you need is always right in front of you. I think so. They ain't said anything else. So I'm good. All right. Oh, I hope so. I hope so. I hope so. Guys, wisdom. Wisdom is always right there. Wisdom's always right there. I don't know, did I just help someone? Here's the thing. I know that's sobering when you think about it. Like, yo, real, for real. But you don't understand what that is. That's like David saying, God, where can I go? And you're not going to be there. Now, if we get there in this series, I don't know if we're going to get there. I don't know if we're going to have enough time. You know me, I've got a lot of stuff I like unpacking. But I might get to show you in this next couple of months who wisdom actually is. Those of you who like the New Testament, when you get some time, you might do some studies and find out who wisdom actually is. But the point I'm making is before even if we don't get into that, even if we don't get the time, I want you guys to understand wisdom is always there. Wisdom's always there. So wisdom makes this call. And from what we just saw, wisdom's calling the scorner, wisdom's calling the simple, wisdom is calling the fool. Like, guys, do you understand why I call wisdom the pioneer? Because a pioneer is someone who leads. They don't need you to say, bro, you know what? I'm in a bad situation. My finances aren't right. My wife wants to leave me, bro. Man, I'm hurting, bro. They don't need you to tell them a story. They're already creating content for you. They're already running sessions for you. They're already talking to people like you. So who's the fool if you ain't in the room? Someone got that. Someone literally just realized what I was. Oh, wow, that makes sense, Samuel. Wisdom is a pioneer. So wisdom doesn't wait for your permission to start trying to help you. You're the person who needs to realize there's help right in front of me. And I just need to get into the room. I just need to stop being the person who's got a reason and an excuse or who's a passenger just sitting down saying, oh, life is going to sort itself out one day. There is no scripture that tells you life is going to sort itself out one day. Why have you bought into that scam? Those who are led by the Spirit of God. What does that mean? I'm going somewhere, brother. I'm being led somewhere, brother. We're on a journey, brother. I'm not a passenger on a boat just trying to figure out where we're going to land. No, that's not biblical. It's not biblical. That's why if you go to a church and you hear a church is teaching error, you've got to get out of there. No. One day he's going to preach the right thing because he's reading the same Bible as me. Bro, if he hasn't started preaching the right thing since you've been there, you might as well bounce from there. People don't get it because you're always waiting for someone else to tell you what to do. am a pioneer. I'm operating in wisdom. You know what that means? I take initiative. I get up and I go. I say, you know what? This is a video I'm going to create, and I create the video. I say, you know what? We're going to start an initiative. Let's do men's Bible and breakfast. And we start doing Bible and breakfast. Yo, the women are saying, yo, what about us? So we start family Bible and breakfast. We take initiative. Who are you waiting for? You're waiting for the devil, right? John 10:10. You're waiting for the guy who's already told you he's going to steal from you and kill you and destroy you. And the Bible says we live in a world where the God of this world, the God of this age, is the devil. So you're waiting for the devil to sort things out, right? And you think the devil's going to sort things out in your favor. Oh, well, if there's only 3 things you can do with time: invest time, which is active; waste time, which is passive; or spend time, which is semi-passive. Which of those 3 do you think the devil's going to occupy? The spending and the wasting of time. Yo, just come spend some time here. Yo, just come waste your time here. Instead of, brother, let's invest our time here. God wants you to invest your time. Hopefully this is helping someone. Let's go deeper. Where are we at? Carol, what verse were you on? 24? 24, 25? Guys, I told you, this stuff I don't know. Like, it does something to me, man. We're just reading. I was just trying to get through. All right, 26. There we go. Stop. So here's the thing, right? See, Carol, like, it got juicier. Look, listen to this, right? Wisdom's describing to you what the drama's like. Why? So you can't be fooled to think wisdom's not there. Wisdom knows exactly what the drama's like. You know what? Wisdom's in it with you. Wisdom's watching it. But listen to the last part, so powerful, the Hagar story. It says, but when you start asking for me, when you start looking for me, when you start saying, wisdom, where are you? You won't be able to find me. But what do we know? We know you're right in front of us. You must be right in front of us because you understand the drama I'm going through. So how can you be there but not be there? Because some things, ladies and gentlemen, are right before your eyes. Some things are right in front of us. And guess what? Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Is this making sense? All right, let's keep it moving. Tyrone, where are we at? 29? 29 to, let's do to 31. And then Emmanuel will do 32, 33. Let's go.
But that they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. They would none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own devices.
Devices in the Hebrew actually work. The word is, it means mechanisms, their own mechanisms. Another word we could use is systems. So you're working your own systems. The systems of the passenger is why the passenger ends up where they end up. The systems of the pirate is why the pirate ends up where they end up. The systems of the prisoner is why the prisoner ends up. That's why when I'm saying I'm going to kill him, that's prisoner talk. That's the mechanisms I was working. That's what my dad could use a deeper mechanism and say, yeah, go kill him. And I'll tell you what that input produces as an output. Is this making sense? All right, cool. Emmanuel, let's do the last two, 32 and 33, and then I'm going to share something with you guys from what Tyrone read as we push forward. Sorry, stop. So look, let's just do this real quickly, right? So wisdom's talking to 3 groups of people, and wisdom just told you the problem for 2 groups of people. Now, I want you to understand this because some of you don't understand when I break down certain things, what they are. So now I want you to see something. I've shared with you guys that wealth, like let's just use wealth. We spoke about money a lot earlier, so let's just bring that in. I've shared with you guys that wealth is biblical. Wealth is a biblical concept. God, throughout the Bible, the 8th time God said good in the book of Genesis was where he was telling us where gold is located. The gold of that land, it is good. Okay? Now, why am I saying this? This is why I'm saying this. A lot of believers think if wealth is good and godly, why do evil people have money? A lot of believers think that. Wealth can't be good. And then they start believing this stupid, dead, fake Bible hype about, oh no, like I'm supposed to be poor. Listen, let me tell you something. The Bible just told you something. It said the prosperity of the fool is what keeps them out of accessing wisdom. The problem is not the money. The problem is that the money is in the hand of the fool. Does this make sense? Okay, you guys ain't getting this. Let's go there. Let's go to how should we do this first? Let's go. We can do Job. Let's go Psalm chapter 14. Let's do that one. Simple, easy. Okay. Who wants to read? Someone who's not already reading. No one? All right, Alex. So, we're reading Psalm 14, verse 1, and we're trying to get a better understanding of the fool. Make sense? Let's go. Psalm 14:1. Let's go. Okay, there's none who does good, right? So here's the thing. What I want you to do now, Alex, okay, some of you might not know this, so let me explain this. If you are reading a Bible and there are words that are italic, that means those words were put in by the translators of the Bible, so it could make more sense. Does that make sense? All right, Alex, I want you to read the same verse without the italics, without the assistance, without the scaffolding, okay? And I want you to see or tell me if you learn something different from reading the same verse but taking out the words God didn't put there in the first place, right? Let's go. 14:1. Oh, can you see italics on the phone? All right, cool. Okay. There is italic as well. Yeah, and the last one should be as well. Okay, cool. The last one is that conjunction. There is. Both of them are italic, right? But that's cool, right? So without italics, this reads, the fool have said in his heart, no God. Imagine you're doing a business deal and you're like, this is what it's going to look like. And the person says no. That's what it actually says. So that's the problem with the fool. The fool, if you want to read it with the italics, the fool doesn't believe there's a God. That's one way to read it. There is no God means they don't believe there's a God. But if you take out there is, the fool have said in his heart, no God. They are the person that says no to God. God says do it this way, they say no. God says it should be done that way, they say no. God says I'm going to do this, he says no. Who does the fool sound like? The devil himself. Why? Because I say this all the time. The devil cannot create anything. So what does he do? He perverts what's already created. How do you pervert what's already created? A yes becomes a no. Does this make sense? This is why the fool's a pirate. This is why months ago when I taught on this, I shared with you guys, the fool is not someone who's just dumb. Who's like, oh yeah, I made a mistake. That's the simple. The fool is someone who's actively doing the opposite of what should be done. Does this make sense? So they can have wealth. They can have wealth because they can use principles. But they're not going to use the principles to then produce the outcome that God desires for them to use. Does this make sense? All right, let's go back. We're back in Proverbs chapter 1. Hopefully that was helpful for someone. All right, we're going to do Emmanuel again. Sorry, 32, 33. But again, the point I just want to bring out from what Emmanuel read in 32 is that wisdom is telling us the problem for the fools. The prosperity of fools shall destroy them. And it's telling us the issue with the simple. The turning away of the simple shall slay them. It's not wisdom's fault. Like, I want you guys to understand, wisdom hasn't set you up to flop. The simple set themselves up. The fool has set them. Does this make sense? So whose responsibility is it to change? Thank you. Please understand this. If you start realizing, yo, you know what, in my finances, I've been a fool. Guys, don't blame rich people. All these rich people, if only they gave us money. No, bro. It's not them. It's your responsibility to change. Is everyone with me? Yeah, of course. The same with relationships. You got young ladies. Oh no, there's no good men out there anymore. It's not no good man's responsibility to be out there. It's your responsibility to be good enough for a good man to find you. Does that make sense? Same way the other way round. It's not like, bro, you can't be a young man saying, oh, there's no good women out here anymore. Bro, that's got nothing to do with you. What are you talking about? Your responsibility is to sort yourself out. Don't be operating like a fool. Operate like someone who's a pioneer, someone who's wise. Yeah. That it does have something to do with it, but this is the key to that. As Gibran would usually say as well, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Like you don't need to be saying to yourself, oh no, like it should be easy to find a good man. No, you should be better so you can find a good man. Why do we always want things to be easier? We don't need things easier. We need to be better. Paradigm shift. So, cool. All right, so let's keep it moving. So, Emmanuel, 33, please, and then we'll touch some stuff before we wrap up. All right, this is powerful, right? So, first thing, safety comes from wisdom. Okay? Peace. It says, you shall be quiet from the fear of evil. So that's peace. Peace comes from wisdom. I'm going to share this with you like this. Today we're talking about the first call. And you guys have said to me, this first call comes from wisdom. And I'm going to tell you what this first call is trying to give you. This first call is trying to get you saved. If you're saved, you are safe. If you're saved, you have peace. Does this make sense? The first call to simple people, scorners, and to the foolish people of the world is to get saved. It's the first call. And here's the thing. Imagine if you're not saved. You are going to be subject to all the things we just read. But let me make it 3D. Let's go to Job. Job chapter 14. We did Psalm 14. Let's go to Job 14. Job 14 verse 1. This is so good. Guys, Job 14 verse 1. This is one of my favorite verses in the Bible. This verse massively helped me. All right. The first call from wisdom is to do what? Get what? Saved. Get saved, guys. Get saved. Why do you need to get saved? Because of Job 14 verse 1. We ready? All right. Who wants to read it? Anyone? All right. Let's go. Let's do the same thing. Sorry. Can you see the italics in there? Ah, cool. Just read the whole thing. Those of you who have italics, try and read it without the italics. But again, you can read it with the italics. Mrs ICanWin just likes giving you bare skills in it. So this is just a skill I'm adding to you, right? Sometimes read the verse with, sometimes read it without. And ask yourself, wow, how comes I didn't see this before? Because when you read it without, sometimes you see stuff you didn't see before, right? Clear. So that's a great question. So any King James Version Bible should have the italics clearly shown as italics. Yeah. The reason I'm asking with Alex and also with your dad is because they're using devices. So I don't know if you've got a software on your computer, it'll probably have, like if you've got Blue Letter Bible, that's a software, it will have the italics in there. But if you're using like a website, you might be using a website and you might be reading a translation that doesn't have it. Do you get what I mean? Or you might be using a website that just doesn't have it, even though it's King James Version. Does that make sense? So that's why I was asking, because they're using devices. Yeah. But yeah, just read it with the italics, and then if you guys want, I'll read it without. Is that a question? Is it a question? Give me a minute. We'll come back to you, Emmanuel. Elijah. Emmanuel. There you go. Yeah, but remember the question. We're gonna come back to it. All right. Kalia, go for it. Kyla. See, I went the other way now. I said I was going to call you Carissa. Now I called you Kyla. All right. Kyla, sorry. Okay. Read two as well. Fleeth. Yep. All right. So this is why wisdom wants you to get saved. All right. I found this verse. I was like 20 years old when I found this verse. I was like, this changed my life. See, when I was growing up, I used to like people like Biggie Smalls, like Christopher Wallace, yeah, that's his actual name, and Tupac Shakur, yeah. I used to like those people. But those guys, they died like 25 years old, 26 years old. And I used to think to myself, like, is it worth it? Even if you got money and the whole world knows you, is it worth dying that young? And then I found this verse and it all made sense to me. A man that is born of woman is of few days. And those days are full. Because you understand, no longer have. You have time. And you're arguing with another human being. Do you know why you do that? Because your life is full of trouble. Because you ain't realized, I'm saved. I'm different. I don't need. Oh my. There's another verse. I'm going to paraphrase it. You go find it, right? In the book of Psalms, it says, He has delivered us from the striving of the people. He has delivered us. He's pulled us out. He's saved us. He's delivered us from the striving of the people. This is why people have drama, because they have not been saved. They have not been delivered from the striving of the people. Who's the people? All of them. Who's he delivered? Me. Do you understand? Like, bro, I can't be arguing with you. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm saved. Like, I'm saved. I'm rescued. I was snatched from a life where I'm saying to my dad, I'm going to kill him. I was snatched from a life where I'm sitting in the back of a car in Tottenham and someone pulls out a machine gun to my head and then says to his boy, that's not him, and puts the machine gun back and drives off. I've been saved from that. Bro, you joking? That I'm now going to be acting like I've got strife in my... Bro, I'm saved, bro. I'm saved. You know why I'm saved? Because I listened when someone came to call. So we're going to wrap up right now. But I want you guys to take from today that someone is calling you. And that person is there. They're there all the time. They're even there when you're going through the drama that you think no one's there. And they've got a power. This is so rich, right? They have a power, just like Hagar, to open your eyes. If you let them. That's the caveat. If you let them. Because here's something we didn't read in Proverbs chapter 1. We didn't read wisdom say, I'm going to yank your eyes open because I need you to get saved. They didn't say that. They didn't say, I'm going to force you to see what's in front of you because I like you so much. They didn't say that. And I'm going to tell you, if you want me to tell you why they didn't say that. They didn't. Then that's not love. See, love isn't about forcing someone to give you something. Love is about providing an opportunity for someone to have something. And that's what wisdom does. Wisdom loves us so much that wisdom says, listen, I'm here and I'm calling you. And yes, you might be foolish with all your wealth and prosperity and allow that to lead you astray. But let me tell you something. I got more for you. I got more for you. Those of you who've read the book of Proverbs, you know what it says. It says wisdom is more to be desired than silver and gold. Why? Why would it say that? Because it understands that some people let their silver and gold stop them from accessing the wisdom right in front of them. Don't be that person. So with that being said, I'm going to close in prayer. We're going to take Elijah's question, and then we're going to open up to key takeaways, questions, and comments. Heavenly Father, we just want to say thank you for this time. The word says it is good for unity. And Father God, in light of that, we are appreciative that together we can break bread, we can share, we can discourse, we can talk, and we can hear your heart. I pray, Father God, that as we go through this new series, Lord Jesus, that you'll continue to open our hearts, open our minds, cause us to receive deep revelation from you, and allow your throne to manifest what you declared in Matthew chapter 6, that your kingdom will come on earth as it is in heaven. We ask, Lord Jesus, for your journey mercies and blessings on each and every family represented here, each and every family connected through means of the internet, through the live stream, whether there are people joining us live or even in the replay. And we pray that your will be done and your kingdom will come. In the mighty name of Jesus, I pray. Amen and amen. All right, cool. So Elijah, you had a question. We're gonna go over to you, and then we're gonna open up for key takeaways question. So italic King James Bible, you have some sentences that will be like that. So they're just writing the word normally, like the, and then it might say the man, and it will be like slanted. It's hard right now. Yeah. So italics are the words that are slanted. All right, cool. Let's. All right, those of you joining us on, yeah, most welcome, chap. Hold on 1 minute. Queen, did you? Thank you.
I haven't said anything. Okay, cool. All right, cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, cool. So my dad was with his partner, and then he went with my mother, and that's I'm like basically he tripled on the partner with me. So like in the Ishmael story, he's like Ishmael don't get recognized. So school. So this is why I think this is the way we're going. But obviously, she wants to go to school. So do we just let her go to school, or do we like? Because I'm like, you know, I don't think it's the right way. Yeah.
based on the terrible schools we've been to. I think therefore a lot of parents who then homeschool their children think they have found the solution because they are homeschooling, not understanding there are also gradings within a homeschool environment. So you could be a great, yeah, within a homeschool environment. So you could be a terrible homeschooling, not directed at anybody, but it could be a terrible homeschooling environment. So just because you've taken your child out of school, that's not the solution. Doesn't mean you're doing like the best job. Like then there's still about how do we make this the best environment. So yeah, I just wanted to say that because I feel like this a lot of people problem, but it like yeah, like we that's all.
Because I feel like
got to say. So like, she's at that point, to your point, Samuel, where it's like she really needs to explore. She's got a hunger for learning that is maybe all right when you're in primary school for a parent to do, but now she's going into fields maybe that are not. Yeah, she may have interest in fields that are not your specialism, and it's like, how do you feed those interests? Um, and yeah, to Samuel's point, like, that's why spreading your wings and leaning on communities to find what's right for yourself.
And my thing to say is that my parents think that the other children were literally investing in you. Invested as parents because you see that homeschooling is the way for your family and your children, and you're coming right to the end. And she being the eldest, if she ends up going to school, is that what you're going to do to the rest of your children as they grow up? That's something for you to think about.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I get what you're saying. I thought about this, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, colour step. Yeah, I thought about that, and I just want to remind her that this year I have to force her to do taekwondo, and we're celebrating her being a blue belt. Like,
by force, I'm trying to push her to come. Like, she don't want to go. She don't want to go. But I forced her, and now look, we'll celebrate another day. How
No, I got double promotion. I was actually very happy about
got
it.
double promotion.
Yeah, because I skipped 2 belts.
Yeah, so we'll celebrate. When ice cream and we celebrate. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, yeah, this is another of them. I can see this playing out again. Like, just get me. Yeah.
Well, is it because that you've moved to a new community? Is this what is the driving rod of her not wanting to go into school? Yeah, it's not the. Is it the?
Yeah, I didn't want to leave school. Sorry. When my parents took me out of school, I didn't want to leave school. It's only until like I actually started doing it, I enjoyed it. But then as I'm a little bit getting older, I feel like it's just grown out. I don't enjoy it.
Obviously, for me and my wife, we've always homeschooled 10 years, since Isabel was a baby, all our kids. Um, One of the things that I would say is a very. Oh, you can't hear me? Okay, I was gonna say. Oh, is it? Okay, okay, okay. Um, yeah, it's really an important conversation to have, right? And it's important. Let's just say, as a family here, we are having something like this because, yeah, some children are younger and growing up to become that kind of age. It's an important conversation to have and come up with solutions, right? Obviously, the Bible says plans fail for a lack of counsel, but in the multitude of counselors, there's safety. One aspect that's important to see is what does the kind of trajectory. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. What does trajectory look like, right? When you've got a 17-year-old person who's completed the cycle of, let's say, home ed, as an example. What does that look like? What do they sound like? What is their life come out like? Because that's kind of gives you a sense of, okay, if we're heading this way, is that a good outcome, or is there a different outcome that we see a different 17-year-old who's now finished the cycle of public education or whichever, right? What is their outcome? What is characteristics? They still have godly values. The whole purpose of us home eding is usually that we're not okay with what the government wants to dictate as this is how my child should be taught. If you're sending your child to Caesar, they're going to come back a Roman, right? But if you send out someone who you're saying, you know what,